and welcome to Thad and Brandon, Excellence in Negotiation Skills and Practices. I'm Brandon Fellow.
My name is Thad Plonovich.
And today we're going to talk to you guys about the importance of negotiation skills. Negotiation is an important skill both professionally and personally. And in this video, Thad and I are going to go over two scenarios for you, a used car negotiation and an island cruise negotiation that we'll give to you in more detail later.
Yep, in these negotiations we're going to talk about some of the skills and practices and strategies that will help you during these negotiations in real life and in your future profession. We'll go over some of the best practices, things that you can do to help you succeed in these negotiations. Some of the background information regarding the used car negotiation is that it is a one-on-one situation, buyer versus seller. It's a single issue negotiation. It's a distributive bargaining situation where the seller's trying to sell a car and obviously the buyer's trying to buy the car. The uniqueness is that the seller already bought a car, so he's trying to sell his current car to make down payment on that car. Some of the preparation challenges that we don't know the buyer's price range. We don't know if he has any backup options, whether he's looking at multiple cars. The actual negotiation challenges were that the buyer did not want to buy the car for $9,400, and explaining the damage was also tough.
During the used car negotiation, there were several personal and interpersonal factors that had to be addressed. Personally, the urgency of selling the car was paramount as the seller because we had to make a payment on the new car that we were promising to buy tomorrow. Interpersonally, we were negotiating against a stranger, which made it difficult to prepare for the negotiation. Preparation strategic moves were all about making a strong BATNA, reservation point, walkaway point, asking price, and target price. During the actual negotiation, a good strategic move as the seller was to ask as many questions to gain as much information as possible.
Some of our strengths were that we were well prepared. We had our BATNA lined up, we had our bargaining zone, we knew our asking price, we knew our walkaway point reservation price. We analyzed the other party well, we knew what they were kind of harping on, they were kind of harping on the damage. Also for the weaknesses, we did have some weaknesses. We used some hardball tactics, we used the low ball, high ball effect, so we used an exploding offer to try to get what we wanted. And then we also, some of the other weakness is just that the opposing party was a stranger. We didn't have a whole lot on him, so we didn't really know what he was going to come in and ask for. Some of our best practices used for the used car negotiation were that we constructed a strong bargaining zone. We had a strong asking price of $11,500, a strong target point of $10,000, our reservation point was $9,400, and our walkaway point was $9,200.
The second best practice that we found was asking questions to the buyer which we didn't know to gain as much information as possible. Really try to pick on some small talk, subtle cues, anything that could help us in the negotiation. And third was developing a strong BATNA. We wanted to be able to have a point where we could say that, if this isn't working out, we could do another route and we could try to figure something else out. The second negotiation scenario that we'll cover is the island cruise negotiation. In this scenario, I played a cruise ship captain who was coming into a tropical island, which Thad was the mayor of. As the captain, I was trying to negotiate a deal in which my cruise line could come to Thad's island and visit a couple times per year. It was interesting because Tropical Island had never had a cruise ship come in and visit them per year, and there were a lot of multiple parties involved that made the negotiation very complex and very interesting, which is why we chose it.
Absolutely, man. And some of the uniqueness surrounding around the island cruise that we had to satisfy multiple parties. He had to satisfy his business, and I had to satisfy my own people and the council. And also the stakes were really high. There was a heavy investment into this process, and we had to take into consideration environmental components as well.
Very interesting stuff, Thad.
As the mayor, some of the preparation challenges were I had to satisfy the island residents and satisfy the council to get reelected as mayor. It was also tough to determine a good BATNA, being that we only had one really solid cruise liner available to us. The other cruise liner was filled with a bunch of middle-income people, and we want more economic stimulus coming from wealthier people. Some of the actual negotiation challenges were there was high stakes, a lot of pressure associated with it, a lot of multiple interests, and different parties to please.
As the captain of the cruise line, I also faced several challenges during the negotiation and in the preparation for the negotiation. Some of the things that were challenging during the preparation were the essential, important, desirable, and throwaway items.
One of my personal factors influencing my strategy was that I was seeking a second term as mayor, and I was also trying to protect the island. Some of the interpersonal factors influencing my strategy was that I was trying to build rapport with the cruise liner to stimulate the economy and also maintain my positive relationship with the council members and the natives of the island.
From the captain perspective, there were also several personal and interpersonal factors that I had to take into account. For me personally, I had to secure a big contract for my company. It was really important to get that contract for the growth of my career. Interpersonally, I had to build a good relationship with the mayor and the residents.
3 things the captain did well was that he brought up economic incentives for the island. He wanted our island to succeed economically. Also, he offered a bridge solution. He wanted to achieve the main interests of each party involved to better benefit each party.
There were 3 things that I identified that the mayor did particularly well in this negotiation. The first is that he consistently brought up the environmental impact that the cruise line would have on his island. Second, he was very collaborative and willing to work together to find a solution that would benefit everyone involved. And third, he showed a lot of loyalty to his people. He was confident and firm, and he knew exactly who he was negotiating for.
As the mayor, one of the different strategic moves that I would do is first I would define all of the issues that were taking place in this negotiation. Me and Captain Bing over here, we were trying to negotiate one issue at a time and then move on to the next, whereas I would definitely go back and lay all the issues out right at once and try to create solutions intertwining each factor of the negotiation. Also, I would definitely play into the emotions of the island people to the captain. I would explain that these native people want their island to remain unique and pristine, and play into the emotions of how these native people will feel if all these passengers from the cruise line embark on their island and take over.
As the captain in this role-playing negotiation scenario, there were a couple things that I felt I could have done differently. One of the things that I wish I would have done is take a little bit more time to research the possible environmental impacts that my cruise ship and my cruise line would have on repeatedly visiting the island throughout the year. I think this could have helped me gain a little bit more leverage in the negotiation and showed to the mayor that I was willing to collaborate and figure out even more creative solutions with him. Also, I could have gained a little bit more leverage by telling the mayor that I had other options to go to. There were more islands in the area, and I could have ultimately gained a little bit more power, which is valuable in the negotiation.
To conclude, some of the best practices for the island cruise are to generate alternative solutions for both parties.
Second, you want to compromise and build good relationships between all parties, because in this case, the success of the cruise line results in the success of the island and vice versa.
That's right. And number 3, justify your personal preferences. Be able to define your essential, important, desirable, and throwaway items, and this leads to a great deal. Right, Brandon?
Yep.
Our concluding list of best practices is that, number 1, you got to acknowledge the goal concerns model. This helps you determine whether it's going to be more collaborative or more competitive, or whether you're going to need to problem solve to really hone in on the negotiation and get what you want out of it. Also, number 2 is to understand the flow of the negotiations. It's important to understand that you need to start with prepping yourself. Become familiar with all the issues, build relationships during the negotiation, gather all of the information for your desires and theirs, use bidding and bid during the negotiation, and finally, you need to close the deal and then implement the agreement to get what you want out of the negotiation.
Our third and final best practice is to learn how to frame your issues effectively. Take your weaknesses, understand them, and then use framing to present them in a better light.
And that is Excellence in Negotiation Skills and Best Practices with Brandon and Thad.
Very nice.
With the captain here, we didn't
Did particularly well. The first thing was he started.